It's time for the Las Vegas Sportsline.
Money won is twice as sweet as money earned.
Here we go. It's the Friday edition of the Las Vegas Sportslines, and I'll have to get used to these headsets today. I left mine at the house, and I have these low-quality deals. Ooh, it sounds like tin. Do I sound this bad all the time? Man, they're awful. I'm Dave Cokin. Ralph Michaels is here from WagerTalk. Good show today. Jason Brinks will be on to talk some college football a little bit. Got a couple of teams he wants to look at as far as over and under win props are concerned. We'll call this tentatively Kevin Iole, the fight writer for Yahoo.com, covers boxing and mixed martial arts. Kevin is doing the weigh-in live for Yahoo, so if the weigh-in for PacquiaoThurman runs late, then Kevin won't be able to join us. Hopefully, it's a fingers crossed type of thing, because in boxing they have a tendency to never do anything on schedule.
Pushing and shoving and pulling people away you get.
You got to stretch these things out. But hopefully it's close to on time, in which case Kevin will be with us to preview the big fight taking place on Saturday. We have one game in progress right now in Major League Baseball. Josh Naylor has just hit a homer in the top of the eighth. Padres now have a runner at first and nobody out. Padres and Cubs are tied at 5 at Wrigley Field. Eric Lauer, who you have a bit of a history with, Ralph, this was a game where he figured to be very motivated. His first game back off the bereavement list after his dad passed away.
Yeah, tough situation when you're adding that to the handicap. People react differently, and obviously he struggled a little bit today on the road at Chicago.
He was good the first 2 innings, got in a little jam in the third, and got hit by a line drive. I don't know whether it affected him or not, but Anthony Rizzo got him for an opposite field grand slam. John Lester was not good for the Cubs today, but right now it's anybody's ball game, 5-5, with Pedro Strop in the top of the eighth facing Fernando Tatis Jr., 5-5 Padres with a man on first, nobody out. We'll keep you updated on that. Last night, we'll talk British Open in a bit, but last night he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he can hit a little bit too. And Steven Strasburg had himself quite a night with the Washington Nationals as they blew out the Braves. Steven Strasburg, our star of the night.
Strasburg goes to left, deep. See you later. His 4th career home run, and the Nats have shocked SunTrust Park. And Steven Strasburg is 2 for 2 in this inning. Are you kidding me?
No, and he ended up with another hit and 5 runs batted in the evening. Pretty big night for Strasburg. I think he got tired running around the bases, and he only lasted into the 6th inning, but he picks up the win, and the Nationals got the easy victory against the Atlanta Braves. British Open has been a lot of fun. It's just been a ton of fun so far. I love the golf course. It's got a lot of nooks and crannies and interesting holes. The weather has not been terrible, and the players have done a good job beating down the golf course to some extent. I think it's wide open going to the weekend.
The winds laid down in the afternoon. Again, a lot of people were shooting great numbers and getting those chips close. And you have to remember there's some weather potentially coming in Sunday. Molinari last year was 6 strokes back at the cut. On the final day, 6 strokes back, and he still won it. So when you're playing links golf and the weather becomes a factor and no wind early or little wind and 25-mile-an-hour winds late, some of those guys that are hopping out early, it's nice to have a long shot on them.
If there's a player who has looked like he's ready to win a major, it's guy you bet on, Tommy Fleetwood. He's playing really well.
He is, and I bet him. I believe he had won on this course. He had played this course multiple times, and he talked about how much he liked the course. And while he wasn't up to great form, it's a guy that's made advances in the majors, and I think he's ready for the next step.
And he is 7 under par, so very much among the leaders. All-stars galore. And, of course, Brooks Koepka very much in the mix, and he is one to watch going into the weekend.
I think we saw Lowry have a little nerves the last few holes in. He fell back. He had that lead, and then he came back a little bit. And, and also I
think J.B. Holmes and Lowry, I would say that my opinion is neither one of them will win the tournament. There's just too many superstars on the board, and I think they'll get caught by somebody.
I agree. It's too top-heavy of a field, quality field.
All right. Meantime, we're going to take a look at some Friday baseball. We'll do that every day with our MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
We start with a rivalry battle in the state of Pennsylvania, even though they're not in the same division. The Phillies and the Pirates meeting in Pittsburgh. The Phillies showing some signs of life. They've been involved in some crazy games and managed to, hold their own against the Dodgers. Now they face a Pirates team that they tease you with their offense because it's a pretty good offense, but the pitching doesn't always hold up, and that's why the Pirates remain under 500. Matchup in Pittsburgh tonight. Toss-up game. Looks like a pick'em.
Ariad has been throwing with that bone spur, which has hurt, and he is going to try to finish out the season. That Pittsburgh Pirates team you're talking about at home has won 11-3, 11 of 14 home games. And you look at Philadelphia as an away dog, 7-20 their last 27. Here's an anomaly stat for you. Jordan Lyles has made 16 lifetime starts in the month of July. His teams are 0-16 when he starts in July. That's the Houston Astros and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Maybe there's one to throw a few bucks on just for the heck of it then on the Phillies. Cardinals and Reds will match up, another important series in the NL Central. The Reds have made a couple of runs to try and get out of the cellar and maybe get into the race in the NL Central, but they keep falling back. And right now they're in falling back mode as they face a Cardinals team that is showing some life. St. Louis sending another one of their guys with the home-road dichotomy out there tonight. That's Adam Wainwright. Like Flaherty and like Michaelis, he's been much better at home than on the road. Tyler Mahle will go for the Reds. Mahle is another guy who has the home-road splits. He's been pretty good at home for the Reds. A disaster on the road where they've lost all 10 of his starts this season. But at home, they're 4-4 in his starts, and he hasn't pitched badly. It's another toss-up game.
He hasn't gotten a lot of run support. His last win was actually May 31st. And, again, you look at a record 2-10 with a 4.8, it's a guy you're not going to want to take. But, again, when you're looking at Wainwright with a 5.5-plus ERA, a 1.5 road whip, I lean with the Reds on this one.
Oakland and Minnesota, big game. Twins getting the win last night. Tonight, Chris Bassett will throw for the Oakland A's, and Jake Odorizzi on the mound for the Twins. Odorizzi's interesting because I think there's a major regression sign here. His fly ball rate is extraordinarily high. He's always been a fly ball pitcher, but this year it's almost 50%. And yet his home run fly ball ratio is under 10%. I don't think that's sustainable. And I think Odorizzi could be a guy that he's a possibility to get blown up down the stretch. Now, the one thing the Twins have done that's smart with him is they've basically been limiting him to 5 or 6 innings so that he's not getting to a fourth time through the order scenario. That's good managing by Rocco Baldelli. We'll see. Chris Bassett's been acceptable for the A's after losing the opener in the series. The sharp money in this game does appear to be showing on the visiting side, the Oakland A's and the Padres, I believe. No, okay, that's a replay. Sorry, I wish they wouldn't do that. I thought the Padres hit a home run, but it was actually a replay from earlier in the game. So, pardon me, still 5-5. Oakland and Minnesota, I lean to Oakland. I didn't play it, but I'm looking at that side.
Listeners probably guess which side you're on.
I have the Padres.
You look at this team, and Odorizzi, his last 4 starts prior to the All-Star break, he had a 7.85 ERA. He was just getting shelled. They gave him some extra rest, pitched well in Cleveland his last outing, as you said, limiting him to 5 1/3 inning, even though we only gave up 3 hits and 1 earned run. But you look at the A's. The A's are the best road team of late, 20-7 on the road with an average line of a dog. They're up 14.3 units. And Minnesota, their last 26 games, we've talked about how the Indians have caught up to them. They're 12-14.
And the Rangers and Astros meet. You get a little bit of a rivalry there, as they're both in the American League West, and I think most people know this, but they're also both in the state of Texas. The Texas Rangers, I think it's fair to say they might have been the biggest surprise team in the first half of the Major League Baseball season, but the second half of the season so far, not good. they are heading in the wrong direction, and I think the reality is setting in that this is not a playoff-level team. Lance Lynn has been tremendous. Mike Minor, who pitches tonight, has been very good. But the lineup it's not the best. Let's put it that way. And it just looks like to me that they're regressing to what was more expected out of the Rangers. The Astros haven't played their best ball lately, but their best ball is spectacular. Even their ordinary ball is pretty good. Justin Verlander will be on the mound tonight, and the Rangers and Astros, obviously a big price in this one with Houston, the big truck.
Well, Minor struggled in his last start against the Astros. He gave up 4 runs in 5 innings, and while I'm still a Minor fan, with these pitchers facing the same team back-to-back starts, I'm not going to lay the price with Verlander, but I just think I couldn't bet against him in that role.
I would agree with that. College football is, look, NFL training camps are starting in
14 days to the Hall of
days.
Fame game. 14 days.
And, it's almost here. And one of the, I've got guys that I talk with on a regular basis. And one of them is Jason Brinks. You can follow him on Twitter at @thereal_HBC. I don't think there's anybody sharper when it comes to college football than Jason. He also does a great job of college basketball, and he joins us right now. What's going on, big guy? How are you?
How we doing, Ralph and Dave? Good to speak to you guys again.
How's your golf game? Are you ready to go out there and challenge these guys at the British Open?
Not quite ready for that, but I'm moving along. It's coming along.
You did play Beth Page Black recently, Jason. In case you can't tell from the accent, is from New York.
Yeah, that is. I
did you
played
crack
it actually
120?
twice this season. Once was like very shortly after they opened it up after the PGA, and I'll tell you, I played that course probably about over 100 times in my life. And I played it after when the U.S. Open was there. The time I played this year, the course played as hard as I've ever played. I mean, the greens were literally like concrete. It was tough.
And did they still have the rough like the U.S. Open rough, or at least partially? Because they don't destroy it and tear it down. They take it down in stages.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the rough isn't – it's like to a normal person that doesn't – that just plays at regular golf courses, they would say, I mean, it's insane. I mean, you sometimes you're lucky to even find your ball in the rough, which makes it tough to play that course.
That's always fun. All right. Gearing up for college football, and we're looking at a couple of teams today. One of them will have a lot of local favor because we're going to talk about UNLV. But let's start in the SEC with a slightly better team than UNLV, and that would be the Auburn Tigers. The SEC is, as usual, is absolutely loaded. Where do you see Auburn fitting in?
All right. This is the deal. First of all, last time I was on with you guys, I believe, was right before the NCAA tournament. I threw out there, I said, could Auburn this past year's Auburn basketball team be like Michigan was the year prior, where they ran the table in the conference tournament and they had a really good showing and made it to the Final Four. Came in pretty good with that. So I'm going to go back to the different sport, obviously. And I'm going to tell you that Auburn's going to be a lot better than what people think. When I handicap college football, at least from a preseason perspective, there's 2 common things that I think a lot of people make mistakes with. Number 1 is returning starters, and number 2, the second one is geared more towards the upper level teams. But that's when you look at their strength of schedule or projected strength of schedule. Now, as far as the returning starters. If you're a terrible team last year and you return, all these players, but they're all still terrible. So, that's something that I think a lot of people get too caught up in.
Yep.
And then the other thing is, and this really applies to a team like Auburn, you look at LSU last year. They were what everyone said about them coming into the season was they had a schedule from hell, which they really did. But what I think that does is it masks the fact that LSU had a damn good team themselves that they put out on the field last year. And I think Auburn could be that type of team out of the SEC this year. They have a brutal schedule. But I think they have really good players. That's the thing. I think their defense, specifically stopping the run, is going to be among the best in the country. The big question mark for them, obviously, is at quarterback. but they have two. Yeah, they're very young and obviously.